So, welcome back everyone. Hope you enjoyed your fresh air. We managed to order the weather, so it's just starting to rain now. Just so you know, for the formats, we've got about half an hour. If I can basically say, first half of that 15 we'll have cameras rolling. Second half we want to dedicate entirely to print. So, because print you won't get a chance after this, but you will with Chris. We're going to have a huddle with Chris for print afterwards, so you can do something separate with Chris. Okay?
Tommy, you're going to give a signal when the cameras stop?
Yeah, absolutely. So cameras rolling for the first 15, and the second 15, no cameras. Okay, guys? That's the plan. Without any further ado, it's basically over to you guys to kick off. And if I could ask, when you ask a question, you say your name and your affiliation, please. Yeah.
Greg Eastill, ITV News. I'll start with you, Dave, if I may. Sky's history is a very successful one, but also a slightly checkered one. New start now, will you be doing anything any differently?
Well, I think, we've had a very, very successful philosophy, very successful team and a very successful period, and I think what we'll be doing is looking to maintain that, but certainly looking to grow as well. I think London said earlier about what this is all about. This isn't, for me personally anyway, it's not the opportunity just to roll forward more of the same. This is about something new, it's about something pioneering and trying to build something bigger and better. The sport's moving, it's quite interesting to see how much the sport's moved in the last 5 years. Obviously we started out, everybody else has been moving as well, and I think we've got to really move forward as well, so I think we've got to think really hard about that, and it's a great opportunity to be ambitious and go again, basically.
And Sir Jim, your company does have questions over it with regard to its attitude towards the environment. Protesters already threatening to amass on this race at points. How do you respond to those concerns?
Are you talking about plastics and fracking?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, this really is about, talking about cycling really rather than plastics and fracking. I mean, we can talk about that separately. I mean, very briefly, plastics, we're doing a lot to sort of improve technology to improve plastics recycling, all that sort of thing. So there's quite a lot of science going into trying to help solve that problem. But, if you look at plastics, they are essential to modern life. You're in a hospital, on a drip, it's all plastic. Your car's half the weight, half of it's plastic, so you don't use as much fuel, you don't put as much CO2 in the atmosphere. Your food is wrapped in plastic, so it doesn't go off. So plastic does have value in our modern life, whether you like it or not, and we don't chuck it in the sea. So we can do what we can to help the recycling, biodegradability, that sort of thing. But we can't solve the whole problem, because 90% of the problem really is about people chucking it in the rivers and chucking it in the sea, and we don't do that. So.
And finally, Chris, on cycling, if I may, how pleased are you to be back in Yorkshire for the first time since the Grand Day Pole those years ago? Looking forward to it?
Very much so, very much so. I think it's exciting to be back here, and I mean, I haven't been to the Tour of Yorkshire for ever, but we were here for the Grand Depart, obviously in 2014, and I've seen the race on the back of that, the Tour of Yorkshire on the back of that has just grown and grown every year, and it's amazing to see the photos every year from the race and just see how many people come out and support the race and get involved with it. So it really is a pleasure to be here, and exciting that we've got the launch at the same time, the launch of the new sponsor.
Many thanks.
Next question. Yep.
Vernon Pitt, Cycling Weekly. David and Jim, can you talk us through how you guys met and how this deal came to pass?
Well, I think one of the initial contacts was actually with Jim riding with the guys down in Monaco, wasn't it? And maybe it wasn't Sir Gin and Tonic like the Ben Ainsley story, but maybe
only using one leg.
more of a bidon and a gel, I think, this time. But
actually, less than that.
And I think it just went from there, really. So I think that was the initial contact. I think there was a likeness of thinking, and off we went.
Okay. Anyone? Yep.
Mike Kemp, BBC Radio York. Again, I'm sorry, I have to come and refer back to the fracking, because there are the protesters say they're going to wear 15,000 face masks with your face or around the race as part of the protests. Obviously, they're going to make their presence known. I mean, what do you say to those people who are going to protest specifically against Team Ineos?
I mean, it's not a Team Ineos thing. Team Ineos is a completely different thing to the fracking issue. I mean, I have a simple view with fracking, which is the most highly regulated country in the world, by a country mile, is America. You know, you can't look at what they did to BP. You know, it cost BP $60 billion when they stepped over the line. And they have drilled 1 million wells or more in America. There really have been almost no environmental issues. They have the cheapest energy in the world. It's created an investment of about $1 trillion in energy and manufacturing. And if I look at the UK, we are sat on some potentially extraordinary reserves. Gas is a great fuel. It's a clean fuel compared to coal or importing gas. And it creates jobs and it creates investment. And you know, why wouldn't you look at exploiting that in the UK? And if I look at the fracking groups, I think the majority of the ones that I've met and heard about are ignorant about fracking. I mean, if it was dangerous or difficult, it would not be allowed in America. I wouldn't want to get involved in it if it was difficult or dangerous. They've been fracking conventional wells for 60 or 70 years. All the wells in the North Sea are fracked. I mean, everybody. I mean, there's nothing. All you do is pump water down, and it just loosens the rock a bit. That's all. So, you know, I think it's a great shame that the north of England, where an important part of the economy is manufacturing, is being deprived of cheap energy. With cheap energy, it helps encourage investment in manufacturing, and I think that's important for the north of England. I'm from the north of England, so I think it's outrageous that the government listened to a noisy, minuscule minority instead of looking at the science, which is what they should do.
Okay.
Sorry.
Next question. Stunned people into silence. yes.
No more questions.
Daniel, how long is your commitment to this team? And do you think you'll have a legacy that will be similar to what Sky had for 10 years?
Undefined. I mean, we're long term, not short term.
The initial contract or
No,
deal,
we just
is that 2-3 years?
we own the team, so the team effectively is acquired by Ineos. So there's no time frame, and I certainly don't have any time frame in my mind. It's a long-term project. Yeah, it's a long time. How long can you keep cycling, Chris? That's a good question, isn't it?
So Jim, on a lighter note, as a Yorkshireman, how important is it?
I am not. Dear.
Sorry, to be in Yorkshire, how important is it to you to be launching this?
I spent 10 years in Yorkshire. I always thought of it as missionary work.
Brilliant.
I went to Beverley Grammar School, so I did spend 10 years in Yorkshire. Yeah.
So how proud are you to be launching this at the Tour of Yorkshire? How important was it?
I mean, I don't know, it's just one of those odd coincidences in life, isn't it, really? It's a fantastic coincidence. Love it, yeah.
Right around Cycling Weekly. Sir Jim, would you want to make any changes to the team? The team is dominating, it seems perfect, but how would you like to see the team go forward in the future?
No, I don't. No changes, really. I mean, it's Dave and the guy, and Chris, Geraint and the guy, fine. Yeah. I mean, I guess what will happen is we'll probably have a monthly sort of board meeting, if you like, where we'll sort of kick around the issues and projects and progress and pioneering, all that sort of thing. You know. I mean, if you look at the way we run Ineos, we describe it as a federation of businesses. So the guys running their businesses are extremely independent, how they're allowed to manage their business. And the head office of Ineos, a typical company of Ineos' size would have 1,000 people in head office, and we have 22. So there's nobody in head office who's going to be telling Dave what to do, or Chris.
Will you tinker with it directly? Or
No, I'm not really a tinkerer. No.
Yeah.
Yeah, imagine if people standard. Jim, I just wanted to ask, the team's won everything, so what is it you hope to achieve? I know you're always looking for firsts and things. Is there something new you think you can achieve with the team?
But I think it's, it is, I don't think life will change greatly for the team. It's a change of owner. I think we might see some, cross-fertilisation with some of the other sports initiatives that we have in Ineos, I would hope. And that might go in both directions, actually. Because obviously there's the America's Cup and one or two other things. But I think it's the finest cycling team in the world. It's the most successful cycling team. We've got the most successful riders and the most successful coach. So I think you will just continue doing the same thing.
It's probably a good question to put to Dave as well, because one of the early questions that we had when we first had our discussions was, where do you go from here?
Well, I think we've been very, very successful and focused predominantly on the Grand Tours, and that's become our real sort of area of strength, really. But outside of that, obviously, there are all the races on a calendar, the classics, the one-day classics, and to fulfil our ambitions, I think over time we're going to have to win all of the big races and keep on winning the big ones, the Grand Tours as well. And of course, there's the question of the sport's not standing still. Everybody's getting better. It's getting a lot better actually at the minute. There's been a real push by several teams, and if we do stand still, we're going to get past pretty quickly. So we're going to have to move forward, keep on developing and thinking about what's going to happen in the future, and work very, very hard to try and discover new ways of operating so we can stay ahead of the curve, and that's what we'll be trying to do.
Yep.
Josh Burrows from the Times. So Jim, it's pretty obvious what's in it for these guys. What's in this for you? Can you name what's in this for Ineos and yourself?
I think I've sort of answered it really. I think, in those few words at the beginning, that, Ineos is, it's a very, we spent 30 years, working on the Ineos project. It's been very successful. It's become very large, and it's very profitable. So, we make $5 to $7 billion a year of profit. So there's no harm in allocating a modest amount of that into very worthy sporting endeavours which we enjoy. And I think if they inspire people, towards a healthier lifestyle, I think that's a good thing. But it's also, there's nothing wrong with investing some money in something that's simply enjoyable. And I like the theatre, I like the opera, all that sort of stuff, but I prefer sport. If we're sat in a pub having a beer, we tend to talk about football or cycling or sport rather than talk about who's in the local opera or theatre. So it's not much more complicated than that. But having said that, if we're, to the extent we decide to allocate some of our resources into this sporting arena, it's more enjoyable if you're successful. Because my football team is not doing very well at the moment, and it's not enjoyable because people keep taking the piss out of me because my team's doing so poor.
Yeah, I think there's this issue we talked about inspiration before, and for the last 5 years we've been doing a lot of work with Go Run for Fun and the Daily Mile to get people inspired, to get young people inspired to take exercise. And I think we see this as another great way of inspiring people. People look to excellence to encourage them, and look to guys like Chris who are at the top of the sport and say, I'm going to give that a go. And if we can help with that, that's great. Yeah.
Rob from the Sun. Today, under Team Sky, the big battle was preventing plastics getting into the ocean. That was the big play when Team Sky were on board. Is there not an element of hypocrisy that has now gone to a company that's not dumping it to sea, but is producing the plastic? Do you not accept there's an element of the extreme messages that you were promoting only 12 months ago?
No, I don't think. I'd say it's the opposite for anything. If anybody can do anything about it, it's these guys. Sky were promoted awareness and made everybody aware, and we made everybody aware by riding with the Pass on Plastics and the Ocean Rescue. And we're not giving up our single-use plastic ambition at all. I think that's part of life now, isn't it? You know. But whereas Sky maybe raised the awareness, I think now with Jim and the team, they're the guys who can do something about it as well. And I think this whole idea of recycling, you know, reducing the actual use of plastic, single-use plastic, how it's thrown away in particular, but then having the opportunity to engineer recycling solutions is something that Sky couldn't do. So if anything, it's a step in the right direction more than anything I would say.
Well, those questions you
If I give you an example, just recently, and it is this year actually, so it's very recent. If you try and recycle a plastic, so you have to recycle common plastics, you can't mix all plastics together. So you can't mix polyethylene with polypropylene with PVC, with, you know, polystyrene, because you just get a mishmash. Even if you just take all polystyrene products or all polyethylene products, you still get a mishmash because the bottle caps are different, or they've got printing inks in them, and they've got plasticizers in them. So if you melt everything together, and then you try and make something out of that, you get a dirty brown plastic which you can make a doormat from, but you can't put your, you know, Procter & Gamble are not going to put shampoo in it. So the trick with recycling is to get the virgin plastic out of waste plastic. And Ineos is the first, so we're one of the 3 biggest chemical companies in the world today, although we're only 20 years old. And we are the first company in the world to have scientifically extracted a virgin plastic from a mishmash of waste plastic in polystyrene. So we can now extract virgin polystyrene from a polystyrene mix. And you have to go back to basics before you can build up and produce products which people are going to use. You see what I mean? So, you know, in answer, well, part of Dave's answer, I mean, those are things that we can do.
And I think not to underplay Sky's activity, because raising awareness has been a really important piece of this, because it is changing people's behaviour for the good.
Yeah.
You know, people are saying, actually, I don't want that thing wrapped up twice. Why is it wrapped up twice? Well, once would be enough. So that's great, because we don't sell into those materials. You know, that's not our core business. Our core business is high quality polymers going into packaging, about 20%, and 80% into durable materials, going into cars, to aircraft, things like that. So, you know, we have no vested interest in people using plastic for the sake of it. That's not our business.
Public perception, isn't it?
Yeah.
So a message
Yeah.
that you're preventing dumping in the seas,
Yeah.
and joined a company that produces plastics. So,
Yeah.
was that something you wanted from messages when you spoke to them? Did you ever bring that up in your conversation?
I think it's a pretty clear continuation of what we've been doing already, and I think it's, you know, once I understood, you know, I'm not an expert in chemicals, I'm an expert in trying to make crystallized bioplastic. But when I educated myself about, but when I did educate myself about this whole area, then I quickly came to realise that there's a very simplistic view, and of course, like everything else, as soon as you dive down and dig into it and take the effort to learn about it, then you can see, you can find out there's a very different view. I'm very, very comfortable with the situation that we're in.
Yeah. Just before I take it, we're halfway through, so end of broadcast, please guys, this is all print from here on, okay?